Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Iyun, Shulchan Orach. Here we're learning Siman Tet, Hilchos Tzitzis, Orach Chaim. There's two interesting halachas over here. In Sif Beis, the Beis Yosef makes his own chiddush over here. This is not from the Gemara. He says nowadays, it's clear from the Gemara in Yevamos, if you're learning Yevamos, Daf Yomi now, that Esei Dochalos say we learn out of Tzitzis, right? That you're allowed to wear a beged of kilayim, right? If the beged is made out of sem or wool and the strings are made out of pishtan, or vice versa, or the beged is made of anything, the strings are a combination of wool and linen, that's okay, as long as gedilim tasalach, which is smichus, right? If you're doing the mitzvah of sitzis, the mitzvah of sitzis esei docha losa say, the mitzvah of esei pushes away the losa say, and therefore it's okay. Comes along the Beis Yosef and says in Sif Beis, Chus mishal pishtim l'semer shal semer l'pishtim zman hazet d'leikat chelis mipnei shehem kilayim. He says nowadays, Mr. Bura explains, Perish zman hazet had chelis sheyasarach lahatil arba chutin shnei chutei lav and shnei chutei chelis. Vayim is kaim to the mitzvah sitzis karoi. When you're mekayim the mitzvah, right? We learn it says in the Torah, right? Knaf psil chelis. You're supposed to at least put one string of chelis. Seems like two over here, two every corner of your tzitzis. There's really 8 strings, but it's really 4 big strings folded over into twice. So therefore, you end up with 8 strings. So 2 long strings of white, 2 long string of tcheles. Tcheles, it's the same thing as wool, it's just colored with a dye. That's what tcheles is. He says the Torah only allowed you to do kilayim when you have a tcheles. And he says karoi, the mitzvah is karoi. Now, if I heard the word karoi, this is what Mishnah Berurah says, I would have said karoi means lechatchila and b'diavad. Lechatchila, I have to have tcheles also. If I don't have tcheles, then lechatchila, if I don't have tcheles, b'diavad, I'm yotzei with the love on. It doesn't say that. So that's what it seems like the Mishnah Berurah is saying. Now, if that's really true, so b'diavad you're yotzei the mitzvah. If I'm yotzei the mitzvah with my chutei lavan, daled chutei lavan, or 8 folds over into 8 strings of white, without the dye, we don't know what it is. Most people don't put it on. So, if it's the mitzvah, even b'diavad, it should be docha the losa say of kilayim. Why it's still a mitzvah? You're mekayim the mitzvah. B'diavad l'chachil, you're mekayim the mitzvah. It should be docha the losa say of kilayim. Why? How could the Beis Yosef aser it? The second problem I have over here is what we said. This is also the Shulchan Aruch adds. Sivgid Zayin is completely, the Shulchan Aruch adds it in. It's not even found in the Torah. Beis Yosef. He brings us in a new thing. Yud Zayin. It's Kasev Beged, end of Siman Ches. It's Kasev Beged Shu Chaim, B'sitzis V'lohitel Bo Sitzis. The Betel Mitzvahs essay. You put on a 4-cornered garment and you don't have sitzis on them. Right? He mentions also in Siman Ches that you have to check your sitzis because they might have separated it, and then you're wearing a 4-cornered garment without tzitzis. You mevatel a mitzvah's essay of tzitzis. The Torah says when you wear a 4-cornered garment, you have to put on tzitzis. What have you done over here? So leads back to our situation nowadays, right? If you say that karoi means that you're still yosei the mitzvah b'diavad, so it makes sense. We can wear white tzitzis nowadays without the cheles. But if we're saying that karoi means you're not mekayim, which it seems like the Beis Yosef is saying, the Beis Yosef himself says this chiddush that nowadays you can't wear a semer with pishtim. There's no heter of kilayim. We don't have tcheles. It obviously means you're not mekayim the mitzvah of tzitzis without the tcheles. If you're not mekayim the mitzvah of the tcheles, so then when we wear the lavanim, we're mevatel the mitzvah of tzitzis by putting on a 4-cornered garment. We're trying to do this, according to the Torah, you don't have to put on a pair of tzitzis in order to mechayev. The minhag is to wear tzitzis. To be mechayev ourselves to put on the tzitzis, but according to the Shulchan Aruch and Beis Yosef, it's going to come out that you're mevatel the mitzvah of tzitzis if you're not yotzei with just lavanim. So then you're mevatel the mitzvah. So how do you reconcile the end of Siman Ches with Siman Tes over here? It doesn't seem to make any sense. And even to the point at the end of Siman Tes, the Ramah says you go to whatever lengths you can, even though he recommends not wearing a beged of pishtan because you might get confused. If you only have that, make sure to put it on, because at least you shouldn't mevatel mitzvah tzitzis. So, what's going on over here? How do we reconcile this? So there's a lumdish way, and then there's a practical way. I'll tell you both. The lamdisha way is to say it like this: that really, right? It is lechatchila and b'diavad, right? Lechatchila is supposed to be with tcheles, but the you're yotzei the mitzvah with the lavanim, but the construct of esek docha lo to say it's the difference between dechuya and hutra. Dechuya means it pushes away. Hutra means that it's complete head there. So dechuya, it's only docha the mitzvah when you have the complete mitzvah. When you have the mitzvah b'shlei musa, you have the mitzvah b'shlei musa, right? The tcheles and the lavan. So then you have the chatchila mitzvah. So then it's docha, but it doesn't have enough strength to push it away when it's only b'diavad, because it's dechuya, not hutra. That would be the lamdish way. So therefore, nowadays we could justify you're still yotzei the mitzvah b'diavad. So therefore, you put it on. You put on the white strings and you're yotzei b'diavad. That would be the lamdish way of answering the stira, answering the question. I would like to suggest a practical way of answering the question. Is that maybe Shulchan Aruch is making a mistake? I'm not making a mistake, but there could be a different way of learning. That really, technically, there shouldn't be a problem. That I still believe that there's a mitzvah of tzitzis, or Makayim, the mitzvah of tzitzis nowadays. We go to such great lengths to make sure to purchase tzitzis when you don't have to in the first place. I would like to believe that it's not that the tcheles and lavan are two different mitzvahs. It's just two facets of the same mitzvah. I don't think you would say b'di evid when you don't have tcheles. I think there's two different mitzvahs over here, like we brought from the Gemara yesterday, that one is a chosim shel zav and one's a chosim shel tit. The Gemara says tcheles is reminiscent of the great levels we could achieve, and chutei lavan is reminiscent, like Tosfos really says, of slavery, of chosim shel tit, of slavery that we have in this world. We have we're pulling on two strings at the same time. We're trying to grab onto the right string, but there's the rope of zav, of gold. We're trying to get to the right way in life, and then they have olam hazeh and olam haba, and that's representing the chutei lavan and chutei tcheles. And it's like a drush a little bit. The Gemara does darshan it like this. We're trying to grapple with these two things, and technically, right now we only have olam hazeh. We're in a world of avdus. We're searching that tcheles. Now we don't have that answer. We don't have that way of gripping on to the tcheles. We don't have tcheles nowadays. So two things are represented in this mitzvah. It's one mitzvah. No one says it's two different mitzvahs. There's no mitzvah of tcheles and mitzvah of lavan. It's really one mitzvah, but there's two parts to that mitzvah. I would say they're both lechatchila. It's just two different aspects to the same thing. And I would say nowadays, technically, I don't think there's a reason. I would. You have to choose one over the other. I would say either you say the lamdish way, or you can say that really you are Makayim in the mitzvah b'shlei musa, the love, and this is the reality or in the reality of olam hazeh. And yes, you're right. It would technically, not like the Shulchan Aruch says, because of his chiddush of his own, really you would you're allowed to wear semer pishtim. It says in the Torah, allowed to wear semer pishtim. You could wear a linen beged with wool strings, or a wool beged with linen strings. It wouldn't be a problem. Shulchan Aruch says it's a problem. There's no makor for this, no source for this. Remember, this is Iyun, where there's my own suggestions. You have to ask a rav before you do this yourself. But I would say there's no problem with kilayim. It's two sides of the same coin. You would say there's a head and a tails. The head would be the tcheles. The tails would be the lavan. All we have is the tails nowadays. For sure, it would be. I don't think there's a reason you're not allowed to wear it. It would be docha. We say docha losa say, but that's what we have nowadays, and we have to grab onto something. So let's grab onto the love, and that's why there's such an insistence on wearing a pair of tzitzis. At least mechayer tzitzis. At least grab onto something. Realize that you have to grab onto a rope in life, right? The Torah, Eitz Chaim hila machazikim ba. The Torah is Eitz Chaim to those people who grab onto it. You have to grab onto the rope of life. And ultimately, the truth is that if you don't do the rope of Avdus, if you don't grab onto the rope of Avdus, you'll never get to the rope of Tcheles. Tcheles is the higher madrega. Once you grabbed on and held on long enough, for 18 years, held on to the rope of Avdus for long enough, you eventually will reach the rope of Tcheles, which is Zocha in our days to greet Mashiach Tzidkenu and proceed from the rope of Lavan to the rope of Tcheles. See you tomorrow. Bye.